everybody, we're gonna make a stainless steel ring today. This is kind of our main jewelry table here. We have a lot of mandrels, we have ring stretchers, we have all these tools. The first period has to take them out, but basically this whole cabinet is where all of our jewelry stuff is. It's best to not have these tools leave this table, but sometimes you have to. But I will say you will find this yellow ruler inside the left side of this cabinet. You'll find ring sizers in here, so rulers, ring sizers. So I'm gonna grab a couple things here and we're gonna make this ring. So the first thing is, and you can zoom in here maybe, is to figure out what size ring. So you're basically gonna put this on your finger, you're gonna figure out what ring size you want. The average student will be probably between a size 6 and a size 11 if you have big hands. And a lot of these ring sizers, it'll have a minus sign. So this says 6 minus, that's 6.5. So it goes 6, 6 minus, or 6.5, and then 7. And you know, it goes up the line. So the minus means a half size. So if I want a size 7 ring, what I'm gonna do is lay my piece of stainless steel at the left side of this ruler here. The left side of the ruler. And then what I'm gonna do is size 7, this is 6, and that's 8, so that has to be 7. So that's my ring size, but we wanna add 2 to that for where we cut it. So 7 plus 2 is 9, so I actually would cut it there. If you cut it at size 7, your ring will be not size 7, it'll be smaller. Later on, we'll do what this does, add 3 times middle thickness to the ring. But it's more complicated, you have to use digital caliper and stuff. So for everyone in class, we're gonna keep it really simple. Just add 2 to the ring size you want and it'll be pretty darn close. So I want a ring size 7, but you can pick any size you want and add 2 to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and scribe this thing. You could use a Sharpie. You could use anything that you can see the mark with, okay? So next up, we're gonna go and cut the ring here. This is called a notcher. This machine is quite safe if you use it by yourself. But basically, you know, you can bring it down and make sure that it's you know, perpendicular to the blade. And I'm just gonna pull on this, and that's it. It's a pretty nice cut. There's probably 5 ways to cut this metal. This is just, I think, the easiest and cleanest, but it's not the only way. The next is we have to get, both edges have to be perpendicular. I can tell that this piece of metal is angled a little bit this way, and it looks like this other one looks pretty perfect. So again, lots of ways to get this. I'll show you one way that students kind of like. This is a 1-inch belt sander, and there's an on-off switch. It's back here. So it's towards on, off. Notice I didn't make these rounded, I just make it perpendicular. I'll dump it in the water right now. Make sure it's cool, so that's good. So now we got it the right size. This is a file. It's on the left door of cabinet 3. And I can feel it that this one's really like extra fine and this one's fine. And in order for you not to bleed, get a tiny cut when you're doing this, you just want to take the file and just take off. Don't round the corners, but you're just taking off a sharp edge that could cut you. So I spent about 5 seconds there, about 5 there, just getting off the sharp edge just for a second. And that's it. So about 10 seconds with this, it really prevents cuts. This is called a mandrel. It's a very important piece of jewelry equipment, along with this thing called a jeweler's bench pin, and then various hammers. These are like the nuts and bolts of jewelry making for tools. But we're gonna go over a lot of tools. So I'm using a plastic hammer. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to, when I hit this, I'm gonna be striking this and then moving it forward this way a little bit. Hit it, move this metal forward. So I'm gonna go bam, and I'm moving it forward. So first off, make sure you're holding the hammer at the bottom, not up here. So this is bad. It's good. And you want to be able to hit it pretty good. So here I am. So watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When about 6 hits, it's curved. So now I'm going to take the other side and same thing. Again, hitting it pretty hard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About that. So it looks like a C right now, kind of like a C. And then really you could just start to get it round by just going on the desk is one way, pretty quick. So now it's like, you know, it's like somewhat round. And again, this is not 30 minutes later. This is within pretty quickly. Back on the mandrel, hold it, and then. So some students, what they do is, this is what some students do. They like take the hammer like this, and then like nothing's bending, nothing's moving, but man, they're working, they're burning calories, you know, but they're not feeding it in. So make sure you know that this should not take a half an hour to do. But I can go around like this, just making it round. Okay, so ring is round, bad fit up, but we're on the right track. So next is, we have some pliers. These are the best ones right here. And the reason why is that I can put, it grips it really nicely. So that one grips it there. And then this one goes like this. So now I can see, and basically what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and push this together. So I can basically like torque it this way and push pull, and do this kind of thing. Okay, so that's what those are for. And the next thing is we have 2 special pliers. These pliers look very, very funky. They look weird. They look unlike anything you've ever seen before. And so these pliers, what it can do is it can basically it can bend the metal. See how it's doing that? So it can bend the metal like that. I can just move it along. Some students I've seen go like this. They're like, I'm gonna make a ring. They go like that, and they go like that, and they go like that, and it doesn't look good. So my point is, you want to be very do a little bit all over the place. So here we are here. I'm just gonna squeeze gently, and just a little bit over there. I'll move it over here a little bit. And then still, I might have to go back to the manual. You can see right now that the left half is like going on top of the bottom. That's not good. So again, you might have to fix it. You might have to go back to the mandrel again. Go back to the mandrel. Go back to doing this again, and go back to doing this again. And you just go round and round, and you will have it. You'll have it together, looking good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my ring up to the fluorescent light bulb, and I'm looking to see if any light is coming through the joint. So if any light's coming through that joint, and I want to make some adjustments. So I might have to just, so again, when you bring it to me or the teacher for solder, you want to have no light coming through. So make sure you do that test, okay? So it's looking good. So I think we're going to go ahead and solder this ring. Before you solder it though, I recommend you take it to your teacher and be like, hey, is this ring good to solder? And then we'll say like, yeah, go for it. We'll say, yeah, you know what? The fit up, the joint. This is a cardboard example, but this is a good fit up right here. Sometimes students have a fit up like this. That's going to only have a 5% connection or so with the solder joint. So this is bad. That's bad. Overlapping like that is bad. This is bad. We want to have that really good connection. And that's why earlier I said make your ring ends be perpendicular, because if you round the corners, so now when my ring comes together, it's not going to have so much surface area for the solder joint. It's going to have less. So that's why we keep these corners here sharp. Hope that makes sense. All right, so this right here is the acetylene tank. How do I know it's acetylene? It says it right here. This is the tank valve, and it says right here which way to open. Look at the directions. It says, so open. And to make sure this thing's open, if you're in period 1 probably, you know for sure. But you can always just turn a half turn, you'll know. And then over here, the gauge closest to the tank is how much in the tank. So the tank is definitely not empty, because empty would be down at 0. And then this is the amount of pressure coming off, and it's all taped so no one can mess with it. So we got acetylene on. That's all we need. So we're doing a stainless steel ring. And by the way, we're doing that because it's really cheap compared to sterling silver. And we'll do silver later on, but this is pretty cheap. But stainless steel requires some special stuff to solder it. We have to use some flux. This is called Stay Silv. And it should be basically not too watery. Like, don't add water to this, but you know, it should be kind of like mud. And we're gonna take this mud and we just wanna get it just on the solder joint a little bit and a little bit on the underside too. So just on the joint, that's all you need. But if you skip this step, nothing's gonna work and you're gonna be frustrated for sure. Next thing is we have some silver solder, this stuff here, and we'll have it cut for you. It's kind of pricey. You just need 1 piece, at least to begin with. And the solder is going to go in the inside of your ring. And the most important thing you can do is make sure that that piece of solder is on top of your joint. And if you look at this watch right here, you'll hear me say something like the 6 o'clock position. So this is 6 o'clock. We want to have your ring joint, the joint of your ring, be at the 6 o'clock position. And that's because we want gravity basically to help it flow. So one method to solder it is between the bricks like this. When that solder melts, gravity is going to have that solder flow into the joint. Another method you might like is to use a spring-loaded pliers, and you could just maybe hang it off the brick where it's not going to fall on you. Another method. But we want to kind of have the bottom be off the brick. All right, so let's go ahead and fire this up. First thing is we have to make sure we can operate the striker. Little piece of flint there, and you have to basically make sparks. If you're not making sparks and there's flint there, your thumb's probably not pressing that way. So no sparks. Now I got sparks. My thumb is pressing against there. Next is, this is a acetylene torch. It's quite safe. This should be tight, by the way, clockwise. That's tight. We're going to turn off very lightly. There's an O-ring here, so turn this off very lightly. But to turn it on, we're going to go to the left, counterclockwise, a quarter turn, and light it. Turn it off, clockwise. Turn it on to the left, counterclockwise, light it. This is not scary, but if you are scared, don't have another student do this for you. You have to get help, and the teacher will do it with you. You can't have someone else solder the ring if you want to get it above a D or a C. You got to solder it yourself. But I've had some students where I've held the torch and they've done other stuff, or vice versa. So now, as far as lighting this, I got glasses on, and we want to heat the ring evenly. Not too close, right? Just heat it evenly. Now the flux is starting to bubble. It's kind of cleaning the ring. And I'm just looking at the solder. Now the flux, see how it's getting more clear now, but it's getting more clear. It's heating, now notice it's getting a little red there, so I want to get it equally red. So I'm looking at the solder. It's gonna melt any second now. Probably 3, 2, 1, just melted. It went from a chunk to gold. It's possible, I don't need it, but this little pick here, you can move the solder a little bit. What you don't want to do though is keep going, be like, oh wow, this is cool, the ring's getting red, I'm gonna keep going. That's a bad idea, because the solder will kind of melt out and then everything will go wrong. So as soon as it melts, you stop. And your eye's on the ball, doing it in circles like this. Now we're gonna go not get burned, because burns are no good. Now, did I do a good job? Well, let's see. Did the solder suck to the outside of the ring? Yes, it did. Did the solder go to my edges? Yep. And let's say you screwed up. Now, let's say you didn't have the ring at the 6 o'clock because you had the 5 or 4. What do? Do you throw this thing away? No. You just put some more flux on, and a piece of solder on, and you try it again, and again, and again, you know? So this thing is, you know, you'll get it, but making sure it's at the 6 o'clock position, the joint, you know, down here, that's the key. All right, now we're gonna go clean this thing up. This is another 1-inch belt sander. It's my favorite one, but we have other machines besides this. But basically, I'm gonna hold the ring like this, and I'm gonna be sanding it about 3 seconds and going into water. So here we go. And if you touch it, it's no big deal. Now I'm going to do the sides of the ring. So right here. I like it going. So it shouldn't take you more than about 1 minute to go around your ring and the sides, okay? And if your solder joint, if there's a little like part it didn't get, you know, sand this down till it looks good, but you should not see the solder at all on the outside. If you like a smooth ring, then stop here, but I'm going to show you some other things you can do. First one that students like is this. Notice the edges there kind of have that little kind of pop to it now. I see that? Where I just touched the edges all the way around it. I could also do more full texturing. I'm going to do that next. Now I'll say, if you do the texturing, I have been doing this and hit my skin right there and taking some skin off. So if you do this part, I would especially be careful about don't hit that there. Just really be in control. I'm just doing different angles. But you'll see how this turns out in a minute. I think you might like it. So for this machine here, it's the safest place is on the lower quarter. So this is the safe zone. The upper quarter here is danger zone. You can push it towards me. So work from here down, no long hair, no loose jewelry on your fingers or your wrists and stuff. But this is a piece of sandpaper, so this will take off the texturing, But I'm just gonna do it just a little bit, because it'll take the scratches out. Again, nothing happens, so. Alright, so now we go outside. Here we have some buffing machines. There's many types of polishing compounds out. The one we buy it's called Rouge. I describe it kind of maroon, dark red in color. And if you see some on the ground, please pick it up because it costs money. But what we're going to do is, we're not going to apply this to all of these. Basically, Rouge is going to go on this one. This is relatively dirty with this stuff. It's dirty. This is kind of our clean, our final step. So don't put the Rouge on here, okay? So again, glasses on. Imagine this ring going to my eyeball. It could really hurt. Working the lower quarter. Alright, put our Rouge right here. Apply this right here. This stuff. My water, my friend here. You want to press against this with a little bit of muscle. You can see after a few seconds it's looking pretty clean. Might do this one works a little better. Let's give it a try. Coming out pretty nice. All right, so I could keep going, you know, to get it a little brighter, but pretty good, you know. So this is our really clean one here. All right. But again, you shouldn't be out here more than a couple of minutes. So if you can see right here, there's the gold solder. And if you ideally we get rid of almost all of that so it just looks clean inside, like the outside, because the outside looks clean, you can't tell any solder. And so a couple ways to do it. One way to do it is you could use a jeweler's bench pen and select a round file, and you could hold it. The jeweler's bench pen is to kind of just hold it, and you could go like this, and you can file that out quite fast. Okay, that's one way. That's one way to do it. If you like power tools, we have 3 rotary tools. I'm sorry, we have 4. These 3 should always have these sanding drums on them, and then this one here is the one where you can put whatever you want in it without getting in trouble. So put whatever you want in here, no problem. But we like to keep these for the rings. So on this guy, I'm going to do the inside of the ring, and I'm going to spot my water. So you just have to show it a little bit of this, you know. There we go. I'm just going to go back to filing really quick. I think filing is really the best. It's best to get it really out filing if possible. All right, so here we're on the center table, and we have 3 rotary tools. Rotary tools, I don't call them Dremel tools, but rotary tools is a generic name, but there's an on-off switch, there's power, sorry, not power, there's speed. And they're pretty easy to change. You just basically press the button, and then you should be able to get it off. Might need a wrench. But basically, they unscrew, you can take things out, put other things in. 25 bucks on Amazon. This one is a rotary tool, but it has like a lightweight extension, so it's much easier to hold this for long periods of time. But again, going back to outside, we have 2 dirty ones where you would want to put rouge on these, and then this one's our relatively clean one. So you probably already can guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the inside of the ring here. So I'm going to put some rouge on here. Again, glasses on. Imagine things flying in your eyeball. It's going to be the worst day. All right, so we're doing the inside now. Round and round. Getting hot. I forgot a step. All right, last thing, you might find your ring is a little sharp on the edge here. So this is called a Scotch-Brite pad. It's basically like a sandpaper sponge. And you might, you know, go like this a little bit to take off that sharp edge. This is the deburring tool, and this can also take off the sharp edge but you want to go to the left. This can also take off the sharp edge. Flip it, but it's something that you kind of have to decide. But I would definitely do something with that edge, and of course you could use a power sander as well. So all right, so here's the final product. And as far as what's an A, if it has a consistent finish all the way around, whether it be no finish, just clean, or textured, or the edges are textured, it's got to be clean, and the inside should be relatively buffed out, showing maybe a little bit of solder, but not much. So that's what we're looking for when we grade it. Thanks for watching.